welcome back to this breaking news episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody. I am solo today. Tony is currently doing whatever Tony does during the day, but we have huge news. The Bears have their 17th head coach in Chicago Bears history, and his name is Matt Eberflus. We're going to go through his entire resume today. They have their guy at GM. Now they have their guy at head coach. It's going to get very, very busy, very, very quickly for the Chicago Bears, but the wait is over. We have it. And fun fact, our previous GM HC combination was Ryan and Matt. Who is it now? Ryan and Matt. It's going to be a lot better this time around. We can already feel it. We can sense it, and we know it ourselves. So let's jump into it a little bit about Matt Eberflus. Selected by Ryan Poles. This was not a George McCaskey pick. Ryan Poles said that if I'm the general manager, I will be interviewing everybody. And Matt Eberflus had his second round interview yesterday, along with Jim Caldwell and Dan Quinn over the last couple days. So the top three finalists had their second round interviews, and he came out on top. He's considered one of the highest and best head coaching candidates. Sorry, guys, I'm really excited about this. Strongest head coaching candidates this offseason for the head coach position. There's a lot of people on the market, so it sounds like Jim Caldwell is likely going to go to Jacksonville. Dan Quinn also did interview with the Minnesota Vikings, so he could end up there. So Dan Quinn could still end up in the NFC North, so more to come on that. Pretty crazy, but let's try to kind of go through a little bit more about Matt Eberflus, the guy that is going to bring the Bears success and bring us back to the promised land. So one of the most respected coordinators in the NFL, according to many different sources, including players and other coordinators, has created the Colts into one of the best defenses 4 years running since he joined the Indianapolis Colts. He is 51 years old, so still a pretty young guy. He's been coaching since he was 21. Okay, 1992, right after his 4 years as a Toledo linebacker, went into the program and became a defensive assistant. So he was from Toledo from 1992 to 2000, all defensive and defensive scouting positions. So a lot of linebacker experience. Again, he played that in college for Toledo, and that's where he ended up coaching. So he could become Roquan Smith's best friend very quickly. After his time at Toledo ended after 8 years from 1992 to 2000, he was the Mizzou defensive coordinator from 2001 to 2008. So it seems like he sticks in his spots for a long time. Mizzou obviously is a very good college overall for college football. Recent years, maybe not as much, nothing against Mizzou fans, but again, he's had some very strong defenses back in the day. He got to get that college experience, got to understand what he needed on his side of the ball, and when he was during his time at Mizzou, and how to scout players and how colleges also develop players. So that's a good thing for him as well. Then he became the Browns linebacker coach from 2009 to 2010. And then the Cowboys were like, hey, you're pretty darn good at your job. Why don't you come be our linebacker coach? And he was a linebacker coach from 2011 to 2017. So very good years for Cowboys defense. Obviously, that was a lot of development for their current linebacker core in Dallas, who are some of the top in the league. So the Cowboys have always seemed to be a good defensive team, and he was a big part of that. Once he left Dallas, he was with the Indianapolis Colts, which he has been for the last 4 years, 2018 to now, or about 30 seconds ago. He's always had a top 10 defense during his time there. He is a huge reason why Indianapolis has had so much success over the last couple years, because he works very closely with the front office, tells them what he needs on his side of the ball, where players that he can see that's coming either through the draft or other players around the league that he would like Indianapolis to go after, and have arguably built one of the best linebacking corps in the NFL, but also defense overall. So let's kind of go through some of those rankings. For the last 4 years, he has always been top 10 in interceptions. That is something that the Bears have struggled with significantly ever since Vic Fangio left in 2018. Ironically, they were number 2 this past season in overall takeaways. So that's always something that you want to be looking out for. He has always also been top 10 in rushing yards allowed. So good run stopper, something the Bears have definitely been good at the last couple of years, especially with how good our front seven is. But he can bring that edge back to the status that we want it to be. This past season, the Bears did give up a lot of rushing yards. They were ranked in the 20s overall, different spots in the 20s throughout the season. Even though, Robert Quinn broke the sack record and, you have a pretty mean defensive front, the Bears still struggled in that category as well. So Matt Eberflus is instantly going to upgrade that. He always is also had a top 10 defense in total points allowed. So that's something that the Bears have definitely missed over the last couple of years, especially in regards to, giving up a lot of game losing drives, red zone points. Matt Eberflus top 10 in least amount of points allowed. That's something that the Bears should definitely be excited about for getting in their next head coach. Now let's go to 2021, his most recent season, arguably his most successful, and why he is a top candidate this year. So his takeaway to giveaway ratio was number 1 in the NFL. Very, very good. Again, number 2 in takeaways overall. So the Bears are definitely getting a guy who knows how to go after the ball and get the ball back on the offensive side of the ball. That is something that is very, very exciting to get in Chicago. That's something that we've missed significantly, especially we miss the old Eddie Jackson. We want to see Jalen Johnson be the next Kyle Fuller. He's going to help with that. And also the linebackers as well. He was the number 3 rushing defense this past season. So big run stopper again, especially in a division where you have Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook. Detroit always seems to have these, scrappy running backs that just get it done. So, that helps our division significantly as well. And number 7 in points allowed last season. Again, something that the Bears really have struggled with. You go look at our opponent's score and they just ran it up on us, especially the Buccaneers game, especially the Cleveland game. I know the offense just was non-existent those 2 games, but you can't be giving up 38 points. Just absolutely ridiculous. So kind of why we like him. So spoke with Tony before we started recording this episode. Why do we like him? There's a lot of reasons, but we're just going to hit on the top for you guys. He is going to bring the best of the best coordinators in the league that are currently other coordinators around the league. And he's going to bring them to his staff because he is arguably the most respected coordinator in the NFL. That is why he was such a high candidate this year. And he's a rookie head coach. So a lot of people are going to go, hey, this guy, he's been waiting for this. He's going to put all his marbles out there. He is going to bring the best of the best for the Chicago Bears defense. I want to go work for that guy because if he developed himself into a coordinator with that much respect, he can develop me and eventually I can be a head coach too. So he's going to bring in a great staff. According to, every beat writer, every single analyst from all different forms of life. So definitely excited about that. And that's the big question too, is since he's more of a defensive mind, who's going to be the offensive coordinator? We don't think Bill Lazor is. We don't think, Chris Tabor, I think, is the only safe coordinator right now for the Chicago Bears. Maybe Sean Desai, who did interview with the Seattle Seahawks for their defensive coordinator position. So let's go a little bit more into it. He works very closely with the front office and respects the front office, and it's a mutual thing, and they work together to build. He was able to work together, obviously, with Indy's front office to build his side of the ball, which was the defense, and look how well that was. They have a strong building block already on the defensive side of the ball. Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, Blau Nichols, Akeem Hicks, if he comes back. But then Roquan Smith, you can re-sign Alec Ogletree. You have Eddie Jackson, who you can turn back into the old Eddie Jackson, who knows how to tackle. And also Jalen Johnson, who is on the rise. And Thomas Graham Jr., who Matt Nagy is a joke for putting him on the practice squad all year. Though it could have helped development, obviously Bears fans are just going to put the blame on, our ex-coach. So I think that now that he's going to have full control on both sides of the ball, he can help evaluate, work closely with his coaches, and work closely with Ryan Poles in the front office in order to go out and get who they need in order to be successful. And finally, the thing I have to say is that Ryan Poles selected him. That's the big thing here. It wasn't George McCaskey. It wasn't any consultant. It was Ryan Poles. That was the deal when he became general manager. He obviously liked what he saw because of the fact that Dan Quinn and Jim Caldwell were the highest rumors for the Chicago Bears head coaching position. Matt Eberflus was number 3, and he ended up beating everyone out. So he did something right in those interviews, said the right things, and has the right plan in order to make Ryan Poles want to make him. We now have our head coach. We now have our general manager. So now it's time to get to work, get the coordinators, start trading players, start re-signing guys in order to get the Vince Lombardi trophy next season. Stay tuned as we learn more about the Eberflus staff. We will have all breaking news for the Chicago Bears moving forward. Thank you very much for joining this episode of the Chicago Bears. Be excited, Bears fans. The future is looking very bright for the Chicago Bears. And with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year. My name is Nick Brody. We'll see you guys next time.